all the gamepads you can use for PC, but how do you choose one that's suitable for you? Well, let's take a look. I guess I will start talking about the PlayStation 3 controller first, which is very common. A lot of people use the PS3 controller as their main gamepad on their PC. With the third-party software driver, you can set the PS3 controller up to your PC and work like an Xbox 360 controller, or even use software to switch it into a direct input controller, but that doesn't work as good as if it just pretend to be an Xbox 360 controller. But that's exactly where the problem is. With the PS3 controller, even though if you already have it, it's a very good idea because this is still my favorite design for controller. But the problem with that is the third-party driver software, because those software is not that straightforward to use. And there were a couple to choose from, but which one do you go for? It's a question itself. You need to do a lot of trial and error. You need to do a lot of fiddling around. And then you occupy your Bluetooth dongle, which means that dongle will be useless for any other purpose. So you're losing something for using a controller like this on your PC. So that's the con. But what about the pros? Well, like I say, this is still my favorite design for a controller, and for many people too. It is just the most comfortable gamepad in existence to this date. So that's your pros. You get to use the PS3 controller on your PC, and it works very well once you have it set up. But again, third-party driver and the fact that you need to buy a Bluetooth dongle just for it, kind of a problem. Well, next up is the Xbox 360 controller. Perfect, right? Yeah, it's nice. It's perfect for PC. I mean, Microsoft made it for PC as well. So what's the problem? The problem is it requires the proprietary dongle. Yeah, you need to somehow find one of those and buy them. These days, you probably want to do that online because they're actually not that common. The battery, it's alright. You can put the rechargeable, but I don't know. It's a AA, pretty standard. The battery doesn't last as long as the Logitech, from my experience anyway. But not bad. It still lasts a long time. It does what it's supposed to do. It's very, very comfortable. So as far as controller goes, it's worth it. Although I don't like the D-pad as much. If you do classic gaming, D-pad probably not as nice as the PlayStation 3 or any other gamepad there is. But yeah, so the good part is this is the Xbox 360 controller. It's what X input is. The downside is you need the proprietary dongle, which might be hard to find these days, and also might be expensive. So yeah, that's the pros and cons for this. Oh, right. Of course, you can say, hey, the Xbox 360 controller comes with the USB wire version. It does. I had one before too, but recently when I go to the retro game shop to try to find one, and only to find out, since those things are not popular, they have become a rare item. In other words, not cheap. You want to find one of those things, unless if you're lucky, you'll be spending quite a bit of money for an old Xbox 360 controller. So you gotta have to ask yourself if it's worth it. So the next up will be, how about third party Xbox controller? Like I have here, the Rock Candy gamepad. It's wired, and it's got very long wire, as you can see. The design is exactly the same as the Xbox 360 controller. A little thicker, but basically the same. So as far as the gamepad goes, this actually works very, very well. You want to go on a cheap, one of those would be great. So that's the pro. But what about its problems? Well, from my experience, there is a problem. What's the problem? The problem is these things had revisions as well. I bought this quite early when I first see these kind of stuff around. So what I noticed is it's got a slightly different connector than the later versions. Later versions, such as my shameful second player pink controller, meant for the second player, it's got the white connectors. I don't know about right now, maybe they have another reversion, but these ones, since I have this, I know right analog broke for no good reason. It become extremely inaccurate, turn to the right and stuff like that. And why did I say this version does that instead of this my fault? Because another friend of mine bought the exact same thing around the exact same time, and exact same thing happened to his controller as well. So with those sort of controllers, you'll be risking for its quality, since they are cheap controllers. So if you think $20-something is not allowed to lose, then not bad, very good. Like this one works since I bought it, so this one is great. And there's no hassle, it's just Xbox 360 controller, so you plug it in and you're good to go. So that one is that. The next option, get out of the frame. This is the standard PlayStation 2 controller, which is the exact same thing as, say, a PlayStation 1 controller very much. And then, as you can see, what you can do is go online and get one of those things. This is an adapter, so it will work. You plug it in, put it into your USB. This will function as a direct input controller. This is great and very, very cheap, so it's worth it. That's the pros. And then one of those things costs almost nothing, and most likely you probably already have one. What's the downside? Well, those old controllers does not have triggers, they got buttons. So there's a lot of modern games that require triggers. Sorry, you gotta go full throttle every time. So that's the downside with those. They're perfect for emulators though, but still, it's just, you have that problem, so it's not fully, kind of works with today's PC gaming. So that's its problem. And of course, like I say, its advantage is the cost and the convenience, technically. Yeah. So of course, you can go back to one of those, like what I talked about last video. A proper PC controller designed for PC and work with the both worlds. Of course, it depends on the cost. Sometimes it can be cheap, sometimes it can be expensive. So this is probably very good. That's the good part of it, that it's properly designed for PC. Of course, it's got its problems. Like I mentioned in the last video, this doesn't have the premium feel. There's something missing there. Actually, I think that's about it. Those are some of the pros and cons of each of those kind of gamepads. Of course, there are some other ones. Oh, I gotta mention that before I forget. There are more than one types of PC gamepads out there. This Logitech is great, but I had bought other ones before and then there's nothing but complete letdown. If you're going to pick a PC controller and then it only supports one type of input, you probably want to go for the Xbox 360 support ones, because most games support that. I had bought a Steel Series before without checking into the details. Back then I didn't know too much about the different inputs, so that controller only supports direct input, so a lot of games that doesn't support. And then when it does support both, the keys are all wrong and stuff like that, is just waste of money, that one. They end up using a solid, so that was good. But yeah, that's the problem with PC. You kind of need to look into its specs. You gotta make sure you know what you're getting, and I will recommend the Xbox 360 support over the direct input support, of course. Unless if you're getting like a steering wheel or other things, then they probably only have the direct input support. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.